Palmer's PUTTS and Donald Trump's nuts. You are here at this point in the map of madness, where the New York Times and Politico tried to get away with lying and reporting that Trump's Arnold Palmer penis-length monologue, the first thing he has seemed actually interested in weeks, was just, quote, telling golf stories. We are also at that stage of this madness where, oh, by the way, Trump went to work at a McDonald's yesterday, so at least McDonald's got its clown back. And following Fox polling, positing that Trump leads nationally, but Vice President Harris leads the swing states by 6, and she's going to win the Electoral College without winning the popular vote, we now have Nate Silver forecasting that Harris will win the popular vote and the Electoral College, and he still thinks Trump has a 53% chance of winning because I believe the odds are now 100% that the polling and forecasts have now lost all meaning, so we will have to land this plane ourselves and on instruments too, and don't call me Shirley. You've heard the Arnold Palmer stuff, so I'll come back to that. The McDonald's thing can be summarized as yet another event we see as a buffoonish disaster, but his cultists and bosses think was a triumph of populism. Even as he saw them figuratively making the sausage, literally making the fries, Trump managed to reassure his puppet masters like Elon Musk that he would never raise the minimum wage, while still managing to extol the beauty of the process and the work he'd witnessed at firsthand, and then you realize he was talking about the beauty of the French fries. So the forecasting, the 538 average is down to a Harris lead of 1.8. The Times average is Harris plus 1. Ahead by a whisker in Pennsylvania, Nevada, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. Harris behind by a whisker in Michigan. The Bullfinch poll, on the other hand, has Harris ahead in Michigan by 8. So it's either too close to call or 8 points. The new TIP poll released yesterday is Trump plus 2, which I would be a lot more worried about if the previous TIP poll released Saturday hadn't been Harris plus 1. And if your poll, even if your tracking poll, swings 3 points in 24 hours, see your physician about your poll, Arnold Palmer. Which brings me back to Nate Silver. Who does he see winning the popular vote? Harris, 73% chance of that. How much of the popular vote does he see her winning? 50.5%. That would be a majority. How many electoral votes would that give her? He says 271 to Trump's 267. So who is he forecasting to win? Trump. 53% chance. He says this based on 40,000 simulations. She gets more Electoral College votes and more popular votes, and he wins. 40,000 simulations, you say, Nate? Nate, I'm beginning to think you yourself are one of the simulations. If there were any remaining faith in the institution of polling, it has been more than erased by the loss of any remaining faith in American journalism. I'm not going to play the entirety of Trump's hemorrhage-inspired or tumor-caused or madness-driven speech from Saturday. I do want to repeat 2 parts of it to emphasize the media cover-up that has followed. By way of introduction, I will mention that for a putatively straight man, Trump spends an awful lot of time talking about other men's penises and using expletives to demean women.
He took showers with the other pros. They came out of there, they said, oh, my God. That's unbelievable. I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold as a bad. So you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had enough, that you just can't take it anymore. We can't stand you. You're a shit vice president.
So you're covering that scatological and genitalia-ridden speech for the New York Times, and your response is, quote, Donald Trump opened his rally at the Arnold Palmer Airport in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, with a 10-minute monologue about the golfer for which the airport is named and who grew up here, in the most pivotal battleground state with Election Day in just 17 days. The former president spent the entire opening telling Arnold Palmer golf stories before finally launching in on the border. Michael Gold, reporter, unless Trump said Arnold Palmer played golf using his penis, those were not Arnold Palmer golf stories. That was a 10-minute dissertation that concluded with a story about the dead golfer's genitalia given by a manifestly insane presidential candidate so crazy and so guilty of so many crimes that if he regains the White House, it will almost certainly require armed force to remove him. The Times would attempt to clean up its latest sane-washing disaster. This is, 178 of them by the what if Biden had said this scale. They tried to clean it up with something that was arguably worse. The same paper that hung 30 news stories off one quote in the corrupt special counsel report from the Republican operative Robert Hur about Biden's mental well-being suddenly decided, we can put speculation or conclusion or analysis or guesswork into a story about Trump's madness and ask why the F he has just said something insane, and this is what we write. Quote, it was unclear if the outbursts and insults were an expression of his frustration as the campaign grinds on, or of his reflexive desire to entertain his crowds. At her own events on Saturday, Ms. Harris called attention to Mr. Trump's temperament and his tendency to go off script and ramble, unquote. Michael Gold again, who I hope has fled the country already. You may have noticed Michael Gold offered two possible explanations, and only two, for Trump talking about penises and calling an African-American woman, quote, shit, unquote, and they were frustration or a desire to entertain. Ha, 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 it's a minstrel show, right? And neither of them were Trump is a full-on KKK-level racist and a rapist in spirit, if not an absolute literal legal fact, and or Trump is absolutely positively nuts. The Times later put together a thumbsucker about Trump's supporters being worried about him, but I'm afraid at the next cocktail party, somebody's going to have to explain to A.G. Sulzberger, the publisher, and Joe Kahn, the editor, that regardless of how this election turns out, they're done. The Times is done. The Times, actually, more likely through stupidity and a succession of Nepo baby publishers than by willful fascistic sympathies, they've actually destroyed the reputation of the New York Times. And somewhere in hell, Spiro Agnew and Pat Buchanan are laughing, and yeah, I know Pat Buchanan isn't dead yet. I'm just trying to be upbeat here for a moment. The nightmare, the true nightmare, is that the Times has been front row for one of the greatest, unprecedented, long-running political stories in human history, just on a sell more newspapers first draft of history level. I mean, this Trump saga is up there with the rise of Hitler and the mid-press conference suicide of the Pennsylvania state treasurer and the death of President Faure of France in 1899 with his mistress atop him and both of them atop the presidential desk. The madness of King Trump, and the Times could have owned this story for all time. But the Sulzberger-Kahn idea of how to cover this presidential race is to put the digits in the year 2024 in alternating red and blue boxes that look like kids' wooden number blocks. Ooh, that's journalism. It continues to not be limited to the Times, sadly. A news organization with a real fascism problem, Das Politico, still the employer of Ryan Lizza, also not only missed the point Saturday, but buried the point. and emphasized that if there is not a provable case to be made that the media is utterly controlled by the fascists, there is one to be made that the media lives in utter terror of the fascists. Politico. Trump appears energetic in scattered Pennsylvania speech. And then the little picture of him with the link to the article reads, Trump appears energetic in scattered Pennsylvania speech. Yes, he was energetic. Talking about penises. Energetic. Trump Schwanz 2024. Energy. Other news organizations, most notably the Associated Press, got it completely right. Headline, Trump kicks off a Pennsylvania rally by talking about Arnold Palmer's genitalia. Correct? Legally protectable? Not weighted in any way, letting the horror of the reality tell the story for you. Not even throwing in adjectives like energetic. Trump kicks off a Pennsylvania rally by talking energetically about Arnold Palmer's genitalia. Or Trump kicks off a Pennsylvania rally by talking about Arnold Palmer's energetic genitalia. No, none of that. Just the facts, ma'am. Even the Washington Post got it past its deflavorizing machine. Trump fixates on Arnold Palmer as all man in showers during profane rally, although the writing on that is weak. That kind of sounds like Trump was in the shower during the rally, or he was providing the showers. And oops, there we are back at the Russian P-tape. Seriously, it is a terrifying thing to realize that Fox News did a better job by several light years questioning Trump's distortion field than did the New York Times this past weekend. Yet there it is. Howard Kurtz, blown out by the Washington Post, blown out by CNN, and only a media critic while he was there, now forced to scrap for crumbs in Murdoch land weekends, sat face-to-face with Trump and not only questioned Trump's original lie, but also his lie to cover his original lie.
Your famous line about Springfield, Ohio, and I take your point that 15 to 20,000 legal Haitian immigrants settling in that area causes a lot of friction. But when you said, it's gone viral, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, you say you're just reporting what had been said. But why not say now, well, look, that turned out not to be true.
I don't know if it's not true. I don't know if it's true or not true. I read
eating
something.
The pets, you don't know if it's true or not true? No. It's been debunked by local officials.
What about the geese? What about the geese? What happened there? They were all missing.
There was one guy with two geese.
Howie, I have no idea.
Howard effing Kurtz won. New York Times, nothing. It's a final. Oh, yeah, the geese thing was also debunked. It was a groundskeeper at the golf course who shot the geese. Not a Haitian, not an immigrant. A Carl Spackler. Oh, no, wait. Howard Kurtz, 2 New York Times, nothing. It must have been a doubleheader. Howard got him to double down on the enemy within Hitlerism.
You talk about the enemy within. There's enemies, America's enemies outside. The enemy within is a pretty ominous phrase if you're talking about other Americans.
I think it's accurate. I think it's accurate.
Who are you talking about?
And,
the enemy?
I heard that. They say, the enemy.
Donald Trump's entire world is a lie. He reposted something that actually reads, January 6th will go down in history as the day the government staged a riot. There's a picture of the attempted coup to cover up the fact that they certified a fraudulent election. January 6th, the day the government staged a riot, certified a fraudulent election. So Trump's morons are now so moronic and so unchallenged by the media that he could repost that, and nobody in the Times or anywhere else bothered to even write about it and write, hey, wait a minute, the government staged a riot on January 6th, 2021? I might have to look this up, but the way I remember it, the government was the Trump government, wasn't it? Can we ask Maggie Haberman? She'll remember. Who is the president on January 6th, 2021 who staged the riot? The media had the essence of an unprecedented scandal involving Trump and Russia before he was elected, and they blew it. And when the cover-up came out, they swallowed the cover-up. And the scandal is so obvious, and needs so little work, so few threads to be pulled on, that even now Trump's own director of national intelligence, a backwoods congressman named Dan Coates, is still telling Bob Woodward that he still suspects Putin is still blackmailing Trump. Did you read about that? No. You read about Arnold Palmer's golf stories. The entire media. Please remember to include Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and the QAnon ecosphere in that phrase. They are the media to these people just as much as CBS News is. It's all the same now. The entire media is 95% a lie, designed to make the liars money and to make Trump the dictator. Period. But the New York Times has pretty kids' number blocks. Red, blue, red, blue. See how that works? Journalism. Use it or lose it on January 20th. And if you think you're going to placate him on this, Mr. Sulzberger, by prostituting yourself between now and then, join the long list of those who figured they could handle him and wound up with nothing. My ex-SportsCenter co-anchor, the ditz Sage Steele, went full MAGA, got fired, full fascist, assumed the MAGA martyrdom robes, and then got to MC a town hall for Trump yesterday, and because she mentioned the wrong football team, the Trump crowd booed the hell out of her. And Trump got her name wrong. Congratulations, Sage. You sold your soul, and you have won a customized MAGA hat with your name on it, misspelled. Mr. Sulzberger, you and your Times executives and editors are becoming Sage Steele. You will have helped end democracy in America or damn near done so. Those of us who survive will remember. So how did we get here? How, a week and a day before the election, could we possibly be in this situation? I have some thoughts. These thoughts are summarized by two words: Mike Tyson. That's next. This is Countdown. So what I asked before the break, how did we get here? How are we 1 week and 1 day to the election? And how is it possible that the polls show anything other than a double-digit lead for the party of the non-racist, able-to-read, non-conspiracy theory candidate? How are we in a place where one genuinely insane man in Donald Trump is promising to appoint another one, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to his cabinet? What? As Secretary of Phone Sex? The answer is two words: Mike Tyson. You may recall that by marriage and adoption, Mike Tyson and I are cousins. Distant cousins. Legally, we are distant cousins. The boxing trainer Cus D'Amato actually cared about the troubled and even abandoned or orphaned kids he took on as fighters. He became legal guardian for several of them, including Tyson, who told me that Cus really was his father. Okay, that's his half. My half is Cus's niece, Geraldine, Jerry, married my Uncle John. They were married for more than 60 years. She was my Aunt Jerry. When I met him decades ago in L.A., Tyson was surly and threatening, and then I mentioned Jerry, and his eyes lit up. You're her nephew? Cousin! It was Cus D'Amato and his associate, Kevin Rooney, who perfected the management of Tyson's medication in such a way that they could keep him stable nearly all the time. And then they would gradually lower the dose on the meds in the weeks and the days before a fight so that all of Tyson's maniacal energy, murderous intent, would appear in the ring and only in the ring. Cus D'Amato died in 1985 when Tyson was 19 and on the verge of greatness, and he left care of Mike, both as a boxer and as a person, to Kevin Rooney. And then in 1988, two men stepped in to try to take over Mike Tyson's contract and Mike Tyson's life. And the two men were Don King and Donald Trump. And Don King said Tyson should be making millions more than he did under Rooney and the manager Bill Caton. And Trump showed Tyson the world of jet setters. When Tyson complained that the drugs that he needed to keep life manageable and to keep him from, driving into trees and trying to kill people, that those drugs made him sleepy and uncomfortable and unhappy, Trump told Tyson, "Why are you taking them? You're the youngest heavyweight champion in history. You do what you want. You tell them what drugs you'll take. They don't know you. Who knows if the drugs really do you any good? You're not the troubled kid anymore. You're an adult man. You're the champion. You're God. You remind me of Arnold Palmer. Dump these idiots making money off you," Trump said, "and come with me and Don King, and we won't make you take those drugs." For a long time, I thought this was just Trump's pitch to get his fingers into Tyson's career and money, but now I begin to think it's Trump's philosophy of life, and it applies to those people who endlessly, desperately, and permanently support Trump, no matter what he does, no matter what he says, no matter how he lies, no matter how he fails them, no matter whose schlong he talks about, no matter what he does to them between now and next Tuesday. Trump gives to his apocalyptic hellscape portion of America the license to metaphorically take the drugs. Or no doubt literally in many occasions. You hate black people and you've been pretending all the time. This is America, land of the free. They are the ones getting special treatment. You are the victims of racism. You are uneducated, and even life's simplest tasks confuse and scare you. Education is unnecessary. Your natural common sense, why, that's much more valuable than 1,000 degrees from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, purchased after the fact by major donations by your father. Oh, maybe that's a bad example. You are told you have failed in life, that you're lazy, that you're an underachiever, you've let people down. No, you are the victims. They are out to get you. They rigged the system so you would fail. Look at what they did to me, the multi-billionaire victim. Look at the great men in life and what they did to them. Look what they did to Alphonse Capone and Hannibal Lecter and Arnold Palmer. You have to have self-discipline to get something out of your life. You have to control your impulses. You have to listen to your boss or your wife or your government when they're trying to keep you from getting killed by a disease nobody knows anything about. The hell you have to listen to them. You're not the troubled kid anymore. You're an adult man, a champion, a god. Work with me, and not only won't I make you ever do anything you don't want to do, I'll let you do whatever you want to do. Well, you know how that turned out. You know how it turned out for Mike Tyson. The next thing you know, Mike Tyson has a giant face tattoo that looked like he'd had a really bad collision with a wrought iron bird feeder. And he'd been convicted of rape, and he was living in a prison for 3 years. And we know how it worked out for America. America got Trump and 4 years in his prison, and now nearly half of us are saying 4 more years in prison? I don't know. But none of my failed life is my fault? Where the hell do I sign? I've done all the damage I can do here. Thank you for listening. We're now back to 5 episodes a week, posting nightly just after midnight Eastern. Follow me for the podcast promo videos on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and UTalk. Once again, as you are listening to it now, there is a Monday countdown. Please send it to somebody who does not know that they need to listen to this, but should. And as I say at other points in this broadcast, while they still can. Brian Ray and John Philip Chanel, the musical directors of Countdown, arranged, produced, and performed most of our music. Mr. Chanel handled orchestration and keyboards. Mr. Ray was on the guitars, bass, and drums. It was produced by TKO Brothers. Our satirical and pithy musical comments are by the best baseball stadium organist ever, Nancy Faust. Sports music is the Olbermann theme from ESPN2, written by Mitch Warren Davis, courtesy of ESPN Inc. Other music arranged and performed by the group No Horns Allowed. Everything else was pretty much my fault. It's Countdown for today, 2 weeks and a day until the 2024 presidential election, the 1,385th day since convicted felon dissociative fugue J. Trump's first attempted coup against the democratically elected government of the United States. You know, that coup that was staged by the government. Oh my God, Trump was the government. I've been fooled. Use the election, use the mental health system, use presidential immunity to keep him from doing it again while we still have a chance. He's found his life's work at McDonald's. Let's send him there. The next scheduled countdown is tomorrow. Bulletins as the news requires. Till then, I'm Keith Olbermann. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good luck.